Mr. Speaker, we can look at the content, but if the ban is unnecessary, then why is it that they've started a review? Just last week, his Education Secretary called a ban a bit gimmick, yet teachers and head teachers say the evidence already shows that schools that ban phones get better results. And he's wrong. Not all schools do this. Only 1 in 10 schools are smartphone free. So will he U-turn on this?
We need to ensure that all schools do this, but the vast majority do.
No one expected Keir Starmer to humiliate himself like this, openly mocked in Parliament, caught completely off guard. Kemi Badenoch set the perfect trap and Starmer walked right into it, confused, uncertain, unable to respond. The moment he opened his mouth, the entire chamber erupted, drowning him out in laughter and disbelief. So what triggered this political disaster? It all began with Labour's decision to vote against banning mobile phones in schools, a policy Starmer himself that had promoted as essential for classroom discipline. He made it a talking point, a publicity stunt to show how much he cares about education. But when the time came to actually support the policy, he voted it down. And then came the moment of reckoning. Kemi Badenoch exposed the hypocrisy on the House floor, calling him out point by point. If Starmer really cares about teachers, if he really cares about students, if he really wants better school standards, why would he block a common-sense ban on phones in classrooms? He had no answer. This wasn't just a gaffe. It was a public dismantling of Starmer's credibility in education, on leadership, on honesty. Want to know exactly what Kemi Badenoch said and how the Parliament reacted? Keep watching, we're breaking down every brutal moment. Then continue your video or article with the full exchange.
But first, let's turn to another government minister who is making a mess of her brief, the Education Secretary. Why did Labour MPs vote against banning phones in schools last week?
Prime Minister.
Because it's completely unnecessary. I've got teenage children. Almost every school bans phones in school. They do it already. We need to concentrate on what's really important here, which is getting to the content that children shouldn't be accessing. That's where I would genuinely like to work across the House, because I think there's a huge amount of work to do. But the battle is not with schools that are already banning phones in school. The battle, and this is an important emerging battle, is to work together to ensure that we can ensure that the content that children are accessing, wherever they are, is...
And in doing so, Starmer didn't just make a policy error. He exposed the deep flaws in Labour's ideology when it comes to education and discipline. This wasn't just a routine vote. It was a clear statement of priorities under Labour. It seems that disruptive behaviour, digital addiction, and classroom chaos will continue unchecked, even when the solution is right in front of them. Here's what happened. The Conservative Party, led in the Commons by Kemi Badenoch, introduced an amendment to the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill. The amendment was simple, but powerful. Require all schools to ban mobile phones during the school day. This wasn't about politics. It was about protecting children and restoring order in classrooms. It was a firm national response to a growing crisis. Students using smartphones during lessons, during breaks, and even during exams to cheat, to bully, to watch inappropriate content, or to simply ignore their teachers altogether. But Labour rejected the amendment. Despite the evidence, despite the overwhelming public support, Starmer called the ban unnecessary. Now listen carefully to what the Education Secretary had to say about it, because her words revealed just how out of touch Labour's position has become.
As you say, we are setting out measures in this landmark piece of legislation that will do a lot more to keep children safe. We have failed as a state far too many children for far too long. It's time that we get on and act. No more words, no more lessons learned. It's time to legislate, it's time to act, it's time to protect children, and making sure we've got clear visibility where children are being home educated is one of a number of very important measures that we'll be setting out today to Parliament.
Interestingly, nothing was done. The amendment proposed by the Conservatives meant to ban mobile phones in schools was blocked. Every single Labour MP under Keir Starmer's leadership voted against it. And why? When pressed on the issue during Prime Minister's questions, Starmer tried to downplay the matter, brushing it off as if it weren't serious. But that's when Kemi Badenoch stepped in and she harshly schooled Starmer in front of the entire Parliament. She exposed not only the weakness of Labour's position, but also Starmer's own hypocrisy, publicly claiming to care about classroom discipline, while privately ordering his MPs to block real action.
Mr. Speaker, we can look at the content, but if the ban is unnecessary, then why is it that they've started a review? Just last week, his Education Secretary called a ban a bit gimmick, Yet teachers and head teachers say the evidence already shows that schools that ban phones get better results. And he's wrong. Not all schools do this. Only 1 in 10 schools are smartphone free. So will he U-turn on this?
We need to ensure that all schools do this, but the vast majority do. It is really important that we focus on the battle we have to have with mobile phones, which is the content that children are able to access. And we need to ensure that that is controlled wherever they are. So it's a question of having the right battle on the right issue, not wasting time on something where almost all schools are already banning mobile.
But Starmer's statement collapses under the weight of cold, hard facts. Before we go further, if you're finding this video informative, like, share, and subscribe for more exclusive insights into the groundbreaking shifts in British politics now. Let's get back to it. A study by Policy Exchange revealed that only 11% of secondary schools actually enforce a full ban on mobile phones. A separate teacher tab survey confirmed that while many schools claim to have restrictions, only a tiny fraction apply them consistently during class hours. Meanwhile, 100% of primary schools ban mobile phones outright because they understand the damage these devices cause. And yet, it's in secondary schools, where students are most glued to their screens, where the real crisis is unfolding. Labour just voted to let that crisis continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that the Prime Minister would say this. His own government's evidence says that phones disrupt nearly half of GCSE classes every single day. Discipline is the #1 issue in many schools. Under the Conservatives, schools became twice as likely to be good or outstanding after going through our behaviour programme. So why did the Education Secretary...
Starmer tried to dodge the real issue instead of addressing the chaos phones because in classrooms, he deflected, pointing fingers at what the Conservatives allegedly did wrong. It was a classic political sidestep, shifting blame instead of showing leadership.
Mr. Speaker, she talks about the record of the last government. Under their watch, a third of children started school without appropriate level development, and that is not being able to use a knife and fork. A quarter left primary school without the required standard of reading, writing and maths, and 1 in 5 was regularly absent. That's why we're pushing up standards, more information from Ofsted, transparency for parents, more intervention.
That's when Kemi Badenoch struck back. She called out Starmer directly for dodging the real question. But instead of owning up, Starmer doubled down, repeating the absurd claim that phones aren't the issue. The real problem is just what students watch on them, he said. A shocking excuse from a leader who claims to care about discipline and education.
We need to concentrate on what's really important here, which is getting to the content that children shouldn't be accessing. That's where I would genuinely like to work across the House, because I think there's a huge amount of...
This is a classic political distraction tactic. Shift the debate to an abstract issue so you don't have to act on the real one. That's like refusing to ban cigarettes in schools because the real problem is nicotine addiction. That might be true, but it doesn't mean you let 13-year-olds smoke in class. The same logic applies to mobile phones. Until content regulation catches up, and that could take years. The only real safeguard is removing the device from the learning environment entirely. But Starmer refuses to do that. He's more interested in sounding clever than being effective, and when he couldn't handle the heat, he defaulted to, well, I'm a parent myself. That's not a defense. That's a deflection.
Mr. Speaker, it was Labour that introduced academies. We pushed up standards. And this is not ideological. I'm a parent of 2 teenage children, both of whom go to a state school. So I'm vested in this, and it matters hugely to me. Nothing ideological about it. That is why we're driving up standards, as we always...
In a moment that was meant to sound heartfelt, Keir Starmer reminded everyone that he's a parent. But it didn't land. It came across as hollow and deflective. Being a parent isn't a policy. It's not a strategy. And it's certainly not a substitute for leadership. Parents across Britain aren't looking for sympathy. They're demanding discipline, structure, and focus in schools. If anything, being a parent should make you more eager to support a phone ban, not less. The truth is, Starmer had a real chance to make a difference. A clear majority, a simple amendment, and overwhelming public support, but he chose to do nothing worse. He chose to block a motion that could have helped students, teachers, and schools. What do you think? Should phones be banned in schools to reduce distraction, or have they become too essential to restrict? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Which schools do you think perform better? Those that ban phones, or those that allow them? If you'd like to watch more videos like this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on British politics and how it's evolving. Until next time, stay tuned.